After 25 years as a police officer, I'm going to tell you what a lot of men don't want to hear, but absolutely need to hear. You need to quit chasing the same things in your 40s that you were chasing in your 20s, because a lot of what you're chasing is a complete waste of time. When you spend as many years as I did drinking coffee at 2 o'clock in the morning, watching humanity make a lot of bad decisions, you start to figure out what actually matters and what doesn't matter. By the time you hit 40, you should have enough life experience to know better. But a lot of guys are still chasing things in midlife that they chased in their early 20s, and it's a complete waste of time and it's not worth it. So we're going to talk about a couple of things today and see if it hits home for you. If it does, start changing it up. All right, here we go. Number one, competing and comparing yourself and worrying about what everybody else is doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all about competition. I think that we should compete in things at a level that's reasonable, whether it be sports, whether it be taking care of your physical health. You know what I'm talking about, some of those things. But the comparison trap when you get into your 40s of lifestyles, of being jealous of people's promotions, of comparing what they have and you don't have, and because of life circumstances, is a complete waste of time. We've seen social media do this now for us over the past decade or so of people comparing, people putting up their lifestyle pictures on Facebook and Instagram and all of that. And you comparing yourself to what they are doing or what they have is a complete waste of your time. The person you need to be in competition with is, drum roll please, you. We see this all the time. Make sure that you are growing and that you are competing with yourself. I would say if you can compete with yourself as much as you want. I was almost going to say you could be as hard as you want on yourself, but give yourself some breaks as well, because we don't want to drive ourselves into the ground. If you're in your 40s or midlife, you shouldn't try to compare yourself to anybody. Who cares what everybody else is doing? Who cares what everybody else has? You need to care about what you're doing. The older I get, the less interested I am in what everybody else has going on, what everybody else is doing. And I've noticed that it's made a big difference in my life. I do get caught up in the comparison trap, especially the competition trap. As I get a little bit older, I want to still think that I'm young and spry. In certain areas I am, but a lot I'm not. But again, the older I get, the less interested I am in other people. And I'm more interested in what I'm doing with the time that I have left. The second thing that we need to stop doing is tying our identity to our career. Now, I'm going to sound like a massive hypocrite here, because this is exactly what I did for the first 18 years of my life. I tied my entire value and identity to the career for many, many years. And when you tie that identity to your career, you will slowly, but maybe unknowingly, begin losing yourself. You have to understand that you're more than a title, you're more than the badge that you wear, you're more than the promotion that you get. That is one of the biggest factors that people I see doing, is tying themselves to that career. That's who they are. In your 20s and 30s, when you're early in the career, you are driving in and trying to accomplish all of these things. But at the same time, if you're not careful and you don't have balance, by the time you hit 40, all of that's meaningless and then you're completely lost. I wore a badge for 25 years and I'm very proud of that, no question. But at the end of the day, if that badge was the only thing that defined me, and for many years it did, but if I walked away from that career and that was the only thing that defined me, I would be in serious trouble. Another thing that happens is that when a lot of guys retire, they completely lose their self worth because they know nothing else. They did tie everything that they had, everything that they've known, everything that they were into that career. And be careful, because retirement at the end of the career can be disastrous if that is what you have done your entire life. The third thing that sounds kind of odd, and it's almost like a double edged sword, but it's forcing yourself to stay with things that are no longer serving you, constantly saying yes to the things that are no longer bringing value or joy to your life. I spent 16 years on our department SWAT team, and I should have gotten off that team a couple of years prior to when I did. I had friends telling me, like, hey, man, you're burned out. You've done enough. You spent long enough on this team. But my identity was tied to that. And I was extremely fearful of getting off the team. I felt like, it wasn't going to feed my ego. I'm not going to be part of the big boy club anymore. And I knew from seeing other people get off that team that the train keeps going and you're off the train. But the thing was, is that it was no longer serving me. I was exhausting myself, constantly going to training, constantly getting called out for call outs, so to speak, constantly putting in the effort. And on the back end of it, it wasn't serving me properly because I was staying on the team for my ego. I was staying on the team because if I felt like I got off, I was going to be forgotten about. I was going to be lost. And so I had a hard lesson in learning that this is no longer serving me. I need to do something about it. And in realizing that you're getting rid of some of these things that aren't serving you, understanding your time becomes more valuable, know that and use that time towards something else that's going to build you up. Now, I'm not saying that you can't just do everything you want because it serves you. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that you're continually saying yes to things, you're continually wanting to be the go to guy because you always have been. And we all know that that keeps moving at a faster and faster clip and it ends up exhausting you. So again, I'm not saying don't serve. Stop the things that aren't serving you, that are a waste of time, that you're staying in because of your ego, because of your pride, or because of the need that you feel like you have to. And that leads me into the next one is we are always doing the things that we are quote unquote supposed to do. What does that mean? You're supposed to come in every time that you're called. You're supposed to do this. It's an expectation that other people place on you, and again, that's another surefire road to exhaustion and burnout. This comes into play a lot of times when guys are constantly trying to meet other people's expectations, because when we're constantly trying to meet those expectations, that gives us a sense of accomplishment. That gives us a sense of belonging because we think by doing that, other people are going to be like buddies with us or they're going to approve of us. And we are good at seeking other people's approval. But when you are constantly doing the things because you're supposed to, or you've always been counted on and relied on, that's going to lead you to burnout very quickly. And the truth is that that freedom starts when you stop performing for everybody else. There's a saying that goes around that I ignored or thought was kind of cheesy for a long time, but taking care of yourself is not selfish. And it took me many years to realize that if I'm going to do something for me and I'm going to rest, or I'm going to set up boundaries, or I'm going to say no to that, I always felt selfish. I always felt like I was quitting something. I always felt that I was letting somebody else down. But I had to hear this phrase so many times of self-care is not selfish. Taking care of yourself first isn't an ego problem. It's not selfish in the way that we think it is. But if you don't do it, there are consequences. So self-care, taking care of yourself is not selfish. You have to do it. The next thing is that you don't need to be right about everything. And when I say that, I mean to continually get into pointless arguments and battles over things just to prove a point. Hello, social media, right? Loaded with everybody needs to be right. Everybody has to be the first one to get on there and speak. Everybody has to have somebody see something their way, or they have a snide remark or a snide comment. Or I've seen friendships be lost over this. I've seen relationships ruined because somebody always needs to be right. Sometimes we just need to take a step back, let down our ego and let our pride go a little bit and realize that, like, you know what? We don't always have to be right. We can agree to disagree. But so many people let that alone wrap them up on a case of just wanting to be right that it's stupid. It destroys you and destroys relationships, destroys friendships. And at the end of the day, what if you are right? Obviously, there's certain things that you need to be right about. We need to get it right the first time. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about engaging in endless battles, endless nonsense to where you think you need to be right about everything all the time. Wisdom comes from learning that some things are and are not worth fighting for. And I'm talking about verbal battles. I'm not talking about fighting for your family or faith or none of that. But what I'm saying in this point specifically is that you need to choose peace for yourself over always proving yourself. One thing that 25 years of police work has taught me is that sometimes there just are arguments that are not worth proving your point over. And to go to the extreme on this, I have seen people killed and murdered over trying to be right about something stupid. A girl. I've seen people killed over losing on a video game. I've seen people murdered over wanting to be right about something endless times. They couldn't let it go and ended up losing their lives over it. Now, that's the extreme case, of course, but if we pull that back into our own personal lives, we see that, you know what? Pick your peace over proving yourself right, and it will make a humongous difference. When you hit 40, life starts asking you some different questions. Men who get after it and thrive in the second half of their lives are the ones who stop wasting time on things that just don't matter anymore. And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dropping your pride, dropping your ego, learning how to rest and settle in. But if you want to build a stronger second half, these are some of the things that you need to do. So understand what's important to you. Let me know in the comments below what hit the hardest. Subscribe to this channel so we can get more information out there. I'm working on making better videos one at a time. This is my new endeavor. This is my second half. I'm trying to see what I can do here. So join me in this journey. Support me if you would by just subscribing and hitting that like button. Bye for now.